Suppose we have a student who just performed Bergmüller's Ballade in a recital. They didn't fix the wrong note, but it's time to move on since the student has reached the point of diminishing returns on this piece, not to mention performing it in a recital. So we're going to reveal the overflow options for this subcategory and choose the complete option. First, we have the completion phrase, which is what the student will see every day when they practice in the coming week. Instead of being prompted to practice this piece in their practice routine, they'll be congratulated for finishing it. Next, we have the add bonus option, which allows the completed piece to improve the student's score in this lesson by 1 point. Remember, in MetaPractice, a score of 0 is perfect, while each treble goal adds positive values to the score. That's why we see a -1 here referred to as bonus. I'm going to leave this because I like rewarding students. The only times I don't use bonus points are when students complete fairly routine, mundane things, such as exercises and reading material. Next, we have the Add to Repertoire option. I'm going to enable this option because I want the piece to go into the student's repertoire list, which we will be looking at soon. Finally, we can rename the piece. By default, MetaPractice combines the category and subcategory to produce a title. I'm going to go ahead and rename the piece with a more standard format. And there we have it. We have the completion phrase of done. We have the -1 bonus, which will either cancel out a treble goal penalty point, or in this case, give the student an overall negative score, which is kind of like getting more than 100% on a test. And we now have the piece in the repertoire list. So now we'll look at this really cool repertoire list. The heart and soul of the list can be seen in its options. These options allow us to determine when and how often non-archived repertoire pieces should be played for fun by the student during their practicing. MetaPractice can have your student play any number of repertoire pieces when prompted, play repertoire pieces every practice, weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, and they can be practiced in the beginning or end of the practice routine. You can have MetaPractice cycle through the repertoire pieces in the order that matches the list, or if you leave it in shuffle mode, MetaPractice will still ensure each piece is played equally, but in a different order each cycle. Finally, you can control whether or not the student has the ability to archive a repertoire piece in case they get tired of playing it. Returning back to the repertoire list, MetaPractice makes it easy to view active pieces or archived pieces. Archived pieces are taken out of the repertoire list rotation during the student's practice routine. Now, suppose that 3 months after completing a repertoire piece, your student wants to play the piece in a local music festival or piano competition. In that case, you want to put this piece back into their practice routine and start assigning goals to polish the piece up to a higher level than before. Rather than having to add a new category and subcategory from scratch, all you have to do is drag the piece into the practice routine. And there we have it. MetaPractice even remembers the original categories, subcategories, and goals. It even remembers that one of the previously assigned goals was not yet evaluated. Notice the piece is still listed in the student's repertoire list, so this process did not move the piece into the practice routine, it just copied it. When I was a young piano student, nobody ever had to tell me to maintain a repertoire list of memorized pieces. I was compelled to do it. To me, signing up for piano lessons and not maintaining a repertoire list would have felt like signing up for a baseball team, showing up to all 20 practices, and then never playing a baseball game. It would have felt pointless to me. Much to my surprise, when I started teaching, I quickly figured out that most students don't think this way and do not maintain repertoire lists. Some of the most worthwhile technical and musical growth we experience doesn't have a chance to occur until a piece is totally owned, long after the piece is memorized and polished. Not only does the repertoire list feature of MetaPractice encourage students to have a little fun in each practice routine, it facilitates this growth by making the repertoire part of their normal routine. But as always, how teachers use this list, or whether they use it at all, is up to them.